Wrestling fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, let's get ready to rumble!
And now, please welcome at this time your hosts, Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau. You're listening to the next era of wrestling radio. This is WrestleRant Radio.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WrestleRant Radio here today for July 24th, 2025. We are live here on a Thursday. You heard there in the intro, myself, Graham GSM Matthews, Mr. Marceau, not here today, actually. He's on vacation. Filling in for him, returning to WrestleRant Radio for the first time. He's a Screen Crush consultant, a Buffalo Bills fanatic, one of the hosts of the Guardians of the Galaxy podcast. Tommy Bechtold is back, baby. What's going on, Tommy? How you doing?
Entertainment and movies and everything. You know, all of our interests cross a line here, Graham. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. Like, I just wanted to return the favor. We spoke recently about Andor over on the Guardians of the Galaxy podcast that people can go check out now. And you guys do a weekly podcast talking about all sorts of things, right?
We sure do, and we were very happy to have you. You did a great job, and we will be recording our Fantastic Four reaction tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that.
Like you said, a lot going on right now. We had Superman just a couple weeks ago, Fantastic Four, out today. SummerSlam coming up next weekend here in the New England area, which we're obviously all looking forward to. I'll be there in attendance next weekend. Currently, as it stands, Tommy, what are your expectations and excitement level coming up for SummerSlam next weekend as a longtime fan?
You know, I'm very excited. It's a big card. I love that. I love when these events are stuffed to the gills. I know not everybody does, but I'm torn here because I have a personal, not a personal. I have a superficial disdain for Jelly Roll, and I understand. I appreciate his contribution to music and arts. Randy Orton's one of my favorites. To see them aligned is heartbreaking for me. You know, wow. I can't believe I might be rooting for Drew McIntyre
and Logan Paul, no less, as well.
I can't ever root for Logan Paul. I'm just rooting for Drew McIntyre.
It's basically a handicap match at that point for you, okay?
Yes, absolutely.
That makes sense. Well, that was one of my first questions for you as far as Jelly Roll's involvement in this show. It's a show headlined by Cody Rhodes, John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship. We found out last week on Raw, it's Gunther, CM Punk, World Heavyweight Championship. It's a blockbuster card, the first ever two-night installment. Jelly Roll's going to be a part of it, teaming with Randy Orton. For those that missed the Tonight Show of all things, last week they did an angle on this show setting up this match with those two against the aforementioned athletes of who you mentioned, talking about Logan Paul and Drew McIntyre in tag team action. So with that being said, what are your thoughts with the involvement of these celebrities on these wrestling cards? We had Travis Scott at WrestleMania kind of ruining the WrestleMania main event. Drew McIntyre actually shit all over him for it on the Logan Paul podcast earlier this week, which was funny. But what's your take on that? As someone who can see this stuff on the Tonight Show, do you see the appeal there, or does it do anything for you personally?
I get it. And I think in the past there have been, really great crossovers of celebrities. Like Jon Stewart's angle with John Cena was amazing. And even the sillier things like Snoop Dogg, I think we were both at the WrestleMania where Snoop Dogg pinned the Miz.
yes, that's where we met, of course, yeah.
And I think it has its place. I think when it gets a little dangerous is when it starts to become like the fun cameo turns into like these guys are actually cosplaying as wrestlers. Mm-hmm. Now, there are examples of people who look, as much as Logan Paul drives me crazy, like that guy clearly committed to learning professional wrestling, right? Like he actually put the effort in and became great at it. And I'm not saying that Jelly Roll didn't or can't do that. It just sometimes feels like there are plenty of wrestlers who deserve their chance that have been working their asses off for years. And, I hate to be the old man yelling at a cloud, but like, I just don't really, this match of all of them has the least appeal to me, I think.
Yeah, no, I can totally understand that. I mean, this to me, looking at it on paper, kind of feels like the bathroom break of whatever night it ends up on. But, if it gets WWE some more exposure, which is what they're looking for right now, with the product being as hot as it is. And, we were there when I met you in person for the first time, and I'll kind of backtrack with the history here in a moment for those unfamiliar. But I met you for the first time at that Mania 39 show. That was 2.5 years ago, and the creative has kind of been, in my opinion, consistently strong since then. So as someone who's followed tabs on wrestling since then, and obviously well before that for the last several decades, what are your thoughts on the current landscape of the company as far as like your level of investment currently in the product?
I mean, there is so much media to consume. The fact that it even still occupies a scheduled viewing for me is, I think, a testament to how it is kind of must-see TV. I mean, they have super duper stars right now, and Cody Rhodes and CM Punk and John Cena kind of wrapping up his time wrestling. And then, even some of the lower card, I mean, you have the Usos still. It's like there are huge stars wrestling and they're top notch. And like, we don't even have Roman Reigns in the picture really right now. It's like kind of crazy. I think that like, that WrestleMania really kind of established that like there's a lot of predictability, but like I think most people thought Cody was going to leave with the belt there, and then they pushed the story another year. Yeah, and the payoff was pretty satisfying. So yeah, I think that currently the product that's being put out it's still enough for people like me that haven't necessarily devoted tons of time to it to keep tabs on it, which is a good testament to their success.
I agree. And to backtrack a little bit, I've been connected with Tommy, now friends with Tommy, for the last few years through his time with New Rock Stars, and I've had him here on the show before talking wrestling, so this is not the first conversation we've had wrestling-related, talking his full background with the product and professional wrestling itself. So go back and check out those chats for his full history as a wrestling fan. But it was actually, it was funny, you mentioned Mania 39 where we met in person at that show. That was the night where Roman Reigns beat Cody to retain the title, like you said. And then I personally was very upset about that, not to the point where it ruined my life, but I was really hoping, Cody Rhodes would win and finish the story, like you said. And they paid off the story perfectly well the following year, WrestleMania 40, but we were kind of able to, or at least I was able to commiserate over pancakes the next day, courtesy of you at Dunbar's. What's the name of the place?
Dupar's, baby. Dupar's. Yes.
Dupar,
the greatest, the best pancakes in the world. And I think partially because they just put like movie theater levels of butter on them. So it's like, anything's going to taste good. But it was funny. I think I've told you this before. I was sitting next to, so I was with my friends Zach and Brandon from New Rockstars, great guys, check them out. But we were in a section with like the world's biggest Roman Reigns fan. So it was like 70,000 people that were like, no, and one guy that's just like, yes, holding up the one.
Yeah.
That kind of like cut through to me. I was like angry. I was like, come on, this is stupid. Now we got to wait even more for this. And I was like, oh man, this guy's having the time of his life. This is great.
What a great experience to experience that in person, especially to kind of offset the whatever anger, disappointment you might have with Cody Rhodes losing, just to see some joy in some people. Like I love the Roman Reigns run too, but
me
that
too.
Really should have been where Cody Rhodes won. At least they kind of made up for it the following year, though.
I agree, and I think knowing now that like John Cena was going to return in the way that he did, it's like if Cody had a little more time with the belt, it would have been nice. But that's the way it goes, and we certainly have a lot of excitement upcoming now, I think.
No, for sure. Especially with the 2-night SummerSlam. We'll get into that. I want to get your thoughts on heel John Cena as well. That's been a hot topic of conversation all 2025 long. Just want to welcome everyone in the chat that's joining us live here that sent in chats a little bit earlier on. I see Alexis there in the chat saying Tommy in all caps. She's very excited to see you. Obviously, Alexis was with me when we met you a couple of years ago.
Yes,
so she says
hi, Alexis. Good to hear from you again in a visual form. Yes.
Zach says, we have Zach Minger here in the chat informing me of something I did not know. He said, happy National Refreshment Day. There's a national everything. So I got to grab a cold beverage or something. So happy National Refreshment Day, I guess.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Fernando in the chat, what's going on? Eric, what's going on? Talking about the Jelly Roll matchup. Nathaniel, thanks for joining us. Richie, what's going on? We had someone here. Let's see. Fernando, I mentioned. Nathaniel said, guess what, Tommy? I'm a Patriots fan.
Oh, God. Nathaniel, why? What happened? Who hurt you? It's okay.
Tommy's the biggest Buffalo Bills fan I've ever met. What are our expectations going into the season this upcoming fall?
I mean, I think 17-0 with the Super Bowl. No, you know what? Listen, to be a Bills fan is to experience heartbreak. I go into every season saying, could this be the year? But there's a part of me that won't know what to do if they ever actually win, because the identity is hung on being these, like, always falling a little bit short.
Sure.
So, the team has been Super Bowl or bust the last few years. I don't think we got worse this year. I think we got better. So my expectation is that we have a couple more years of dominance in the AFC East. But I mean, listen, all biases aside, the Patriots have a lot of reasons to be excited with their draft and with Drake May coming up. And, it's just the rich get richer. Those Boston fans, man, nobody has it better than them. Every few years, it seems like they're one of their teams in the title picture. So, I think the Patriots dominated us for so long that I have a strange begrudging respect for them, because the Brady years were just so it's like, you rarely see that level of dominance for that long. So
yeah,
I have like a secret little, like, a little bit of love for Patriots.
A little bit of love. I can't admit it publicly though.
But not Dolphins fans and not Jets fans.
That's funny you say that. RJ, actually, my usual co-host, is a Dolphins fan, a hardcore Dolphins fan.
Sure. My cousin who sits next to me at my day job is a huge Dolphins fan, and I love him. I just don't understand him,
Like you said, who hurt you,
That's right. I guess the Dolphins a cool logo, and we did get the Ace Ventura movie around Dan Marino, so they've at least contributed to the culture.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What have the Jets done for us? Let's just rag on the Jets.
Just shit all over the Jets, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about the identity with the Bills, and I'm going to be all over the place here today because I have a million questions, wrestling-wise, movie-wise, sports-wise. But you talk about the identity of the Bills and how they're always kind of falling short. Does that even, if they're not really winning when it matters most, does that even constitute them as an underdog? Like, is that a proper identity for them or no?
I don't think they're underdogs anymore, the current iteration. I think as a franchise and as an identity, there's an underdog kind of mentality. But I think at this point, like, it's an excuse. Like, it's kind of like, it's a mindset. And, I joke about it a lot, but, like, the fact of the matter is, like, family members of mine are so negative no matter how good we are, because they've just gotten kicked in the shorts too many times. They're like, like, my dad loves the Bills, but there's always a part of him that just assumes it's going to go wrong, because that's all he's known his entire life.
Yeah.
It's like, even if they get to the Super Bowl, they either lose in heartbreaking fashion or they get killed. It's never like, that was just an okay effort. So yeah, I don't think they're underdogs anymore. We have the MVP at quarterback. We have, Hall of Fame players at several positions. It's, I think at this point they're front runners, and that's a scary place to be for Bills fans. We don't like to identify as that. We want the world against us, but they really have kind of captured the hearts and imaginations of the national sports media for sure.
MVP at quarterback being Josh Allen, right?
That's right. Joshua Patrick Allen, Mr. Haley Steinfeld, as we like to call him around here.
I know enough about football to know that, at least. I can't comment much further on that, but I know enough to know that.
As someone who makes at least part of his living doing Marvel, DC, and Star Wars content, anytime I talk about football, I could feel the internet glazing over, just being like, I don't care about this. So.
No, I love it. I love the passion. Because again, listen, you talk about Marvel stuff in sports and wrestling and whatever, all of which, I mean, sports a little bit less so than the Marvel stuff and movies and wrestling and stuff that I cover. But it's all about the stories, right? I mean, you talk about being a Bills fan and always, having come up short and whatever. The thrills in the chase, because when you finally win, it's like, what's next? And I feel like a lot of people felt that with Cody Rhodes when he won the belt, Jey Uso when he won the World Heavyweight Championship. It's a universal feeling.
I think Jey Uso is a great example of that. Like, it was like this thing that we as fans wanted for so long, and then it happened, and it was like, well, all right, I guess what happens now? And then it ended up being such a short title reign, but it was like, I wonder with him, like, it was like, was that the best thing that ever happened to him, winning the title? Like, it's kind of, now it's kind of in this place, like, it reminds me of other past champions, for whatever reason, that got elevated to title holding. And then once they lose the title, they kind of fall out of the main event picture a little bit. Like, it's like, well, okay, you had your you had your few seconds. I mean, I remember when WWE was really pushing the shows over in the Middle East, and like Jinder Mahal became champion, and it was kind of out of nowhere. It was okay,
to say the least. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just kind of like, all right, well, this is like, you know, no disrespect to him as a wrestler, but it's like, this feels like more of a creative pandering choice to like an audience that they're going to be presenting to.
Yeah.
But it was like, as soon as they took the belt off of him, he was on like Velocity or whatever. Not even Velocity. I was like,
That's
so
a deep
whatever the equivalent of like something that you can only find on like Fuse Network or something like that. It's like, where the hell is this guy? And you know, and again, I actually like Jinder Mahal a lot, but I think like, you know, I don't think Jey Uso is going to fall off to that level, but I feel like he's in a little bit of a no man's land right now.
Yeah. Well, at least he is still extremely popular. To his credit, he's still extremely popular. Got the yeet thing going on. But yeah, it does kind of become a question. At least with movies and stuff, you can end that story. But it almost kind of relates, and we'll get more into like, I want to get your, you know, preview thoughts on Fantastic Four, both of which, you know, both of us are going to be seeing that tonight. But like, it's kind of similar. It reminds me of Marvel in a way specifically. At least DC just recently reset with like the DC Universe, Superman being the first one on a major level. But like Marvel continues past Endgame. WWE doesn't really end, you know? So like these stories have to keep continuing. Do you kind of feel the similarity there for you as well as a fan of both?
Yeah, I think like the way the MCU operates and the way the WWE operates is like they're like kind of like a living ecosystem. It's like a living organism. Like the DCU had a definitive end, like you said. Like the last few movies just patently didn't work, and the studio was losing a lot of money, and they made it very public. This is over. Now we've brought in Peter Safran and James Gunn. This is the new thing. There's a very clear end point to the Snyderverse and a very clear beginning point to the DCU, whereas Marvel doesn't have that because they haven't needed it. You know, even if the product has been a little watered down or waned in popularity, it's still an immensely, you know, profitable venture. So, but it suffers from that too. Like what makes it successful is also makes it a hindrance because the passage of time is real in both the WWE and the MCU. These wrestlers are getting older. These actors are getting older. And there are new actors. There are new wrestlers that are coming up that are very talented, that deserve their time in the spotlight. And eventually you end up with like, there's only so many matches on a card. There's only so many roles or characters in a movie. And when you try to, you know, I said at the beginning, like kind of half-hearted, jokingly, that I love an overstuffed card, but it's like, you can end up with a situation where it's like, why are all these people here? and
too much of a good thing.
Who am I supposed to care about? And who am I supposed to be invested in? And like, if it's to the point where we can only kind of push a program, you know, twice a month or something like that, it's like, well, by the time it gets to the actual match, you're like, well, wait, what's the history of this match? Like, how long has this feud been going for? Why don't they like each other? What's the storyline here? And you know, I think in the MCU, the problem is now we have so many characters that came out in phases 4 or 5, and now ultimately I think we're in phase 6. And it's like, I am kind of at a loss. I'm like, I kind of have the shiny object syndrome now, where I'm like, well, now I care about Fantastic Four and hopefully Doctor Doom, and like, I cared about the Thunderbolts, you know, 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So it is tough as long as it remains this kind of living organism. It has to live. You have to feed it. You have to, you know, and that comes from the fans. The fans, you know, they either consume it or they don't. And I think, you know, Marvel will get that soft reset in the form of after post Secret Wars. And I think the WWE every few years they have the drafts and the brand splits, and I think that's kind of their version of a soft reset.
I like that comparison. Yeah, no, that makes sense for sure. I mean, coming off of both of that, you mentioned like the overstuffed cards. I'm going to get back to that as well, as far as like the 2-night SummerSlams, if you think that's a good idea. But going off of what you just said for Marvel, because Alexis and I were discussing this last night. I know Feige had said, Kevin Feige, of course, said, I think less than a week ago to the media or whatever, when he was answering all those questions, something he addressed was exactly what you just mentioned, that soft reboot. Like, we were wondering, like, what does that mean exactly as far as, like, was after Endgame? That wasn't really, he didn't actually say reboot, I'm sorry. He said reset specifically. That was the exact word that he used. I mean, he said, like, Thor could continue on, or Chris Hemsworth, rather, could continue on as Thor, but, like, Captain America could be and will be recast at some point. Same thing with Iron Man. Do you think that's imminent, or, like, what do you think that means exactly for the MCU?
I think it's going to be a little more gradual than what could be inferred from. So it was a Variety interview that he did that he specifically said that. if people want to look that up, I think it's free on the internet. You can read the full interview with him. He gives a lot of good insight on the future and past of the MCU. But this is what my personal belief is. I think we're going to see post Secret Wars a MCU product that is very heavy on the Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, and the X-Men.
Okay.
And I think that the Avengers characters are going to kind of subside until, 5-7 years from now, when we're hungry for those characters to come back, they'll be recast. I mean, some won't. Hemsworth can play Thor if he wants, like you said. I think Robert Downey Jr. can play Doctor Doom as long as he wants to. I don't know that will be something that comes and goes. And I think that we will see, like the recasting of big characters like Tony Stark and stuff, that's all probably 7 to 10 years down the line would be my guess. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But I feel like now that Marvel has the use of the X-Men, they're going to lean heavily on that. And, projects like Blade are finally going to come out. And I think, they finally, it seems like Mahershala Ali's still attached. They're on it. They have some sort of vision now. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that project is one of those things, not to get on a tangent, but it's like, they just need to make that movie.
Seriously.
It's going to suffer from armchair quarterback and pundits being like, well, this is the movie that was impossible to make, and they're going to hate. It's going to be review bombed before it comes out. So like they have an uphill battle, but at this point, it's like the longer you push it out, the more of a cursed project it becomes. So yeah, just to kind of wrap up what you're saying, I think that we'll see the focus shift to the X-Men and Fantastic Four over the next like 4 or 5 years, and then new people playing the Avengers will slowly come in. And I also think that does mean recasting the X-Men after Secret Wars as well.
Oh, yeah, no, of course. Yeah.
Just very exciting to me.
No, for sure. I mean, the fact they're even bringing back the familiar faces from the original franchise just to kind of put a button on that, which they really didn't have to, considering we haven't seen them in those, aside from Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, we really haven't seen them in decades. I mean, aside from a few cameos like, whatever, in all these various movies.
But I think it's a testament to the bringing back Elektra, Blade, and X-23 in Deadpool versus Wolverine.
Of course,
I almost called it Redpool. Deadpool versus. I think the popularity of that, plus Channing Tatum's portrayal as Gambit being more than just a joke, like it was very funny, but it had heart to it. I think that kind of signaled to Kevin Feige, like there is a desire for that whole subset of movies to have more than just a battle in the void exclamation point, like giving them a proper theatrical button, as you described it, I think is something that the fans really want. Like those movies, maybe Elektra notwithstanding, are not maligned by fans. It's not like, unfortunately, the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Mans where people kind of are like, oh, those could have been a lot better than they were. The X-Men movies, aside from 3, are pretty much, or maybe is it 2? I can't remember which one people don't like. I think it's 3.
I think it's 3.
People loved the first X-Men, and the X-Men 2 was a little bit convoluted, but it was still a generally well-received movie. And the Blade movies have, if you like the Blade movies, you love them, and if you don't like them, you don't understand them. So it's like, I think they see now that there's a desire to have Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen and all those guys come back one last time. So.
Yeah, no, I think it's perfect. I mean, I think just to give them that finale is awesome, finish the story, so to speak. I mean, again, we talk about with wrestling too. It's cool to see when they kind of wrap things up. And in wrestling, it's hard to come by because people get released, people get injured, and they don't really finish a lot of those stories. They just disappear. Right. And if you don't really follow the inner workings of the wrestling stuff online and stuff, you would never know what happened to certain people, Oh,
yeah. I mean, wrestling kind of operates, I mean, I know it gets compared to a soap opera, but from a business standpoint, it operates a lot like a soap opera in the sense that, like, when actors leave a soap opera, they're recast with very little announcement. You know what I mean? Like when wrestlers get released, they just another wrestler comes in and they starts a new program with whoever. If they're in a feud with someone, like they don't go like, well, you didn't see this off camera. We released this guy. Yeah. And the resolution of the feud is that the guy that's still working for us won.
Yep.
It's like.
So. Yeah, no, seriously. They never really explain it. It's always like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't even know who you're referring. It's almost as if they never even existed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's probably, it's probably a necessity of, like, again, keeping the train moving down the tracks. It's like, you can't get bogged down in talking about things that are happening off camera. It just, you got to see it.
Exactly, especially for people that don't work there anymore. I get it. At the end of the day, it's a business. I understand it, but as a fan of stories and movies and television shows,
as a creative person, it's maddening.
Sure, yeah. You're like, I just want to see it finished or addressed or something.
What do you mean this guy's not here anymore?
At least make it make sense. You know, that goes with Marvel, WWE. Just make it make sense is my main thing.
Well, and I think the thing that WWE has that's different than obviously is like a movie gets produced, shot, edited, VFX edited, and then it's released, and there's not much you can do about it, right? The WWE gets a live reaction to their creative decisions on a daily basis. So you have a guy or a girl debut as a new character, and like they spend tons of time in vignettes, promoting the appearance of this person, teasing their appearance. And if they come out and land with a thud, like there's not much they could do about it. You know what I mean? Like, they can kind of like try to like, adjust the person's character or whatever, but it's like you go see a movie and you don't like it, you kind of move on from it. Like you keep trying to push a character that's not working live in front of a TV audience or a live audience. Like, they have to think on their feet. They have to edit in real time these characters. So it's I think probably a much harder task.
Yeah, no, for sure. Especially when you're mapping out stories weeks in advance, months in advance. You're announcing matches for SummerSlam, and then all of a sudden this person gets hurt or their contract expires or what have you,
Well, like, I don't know the whole, like, I don't really, this is one character and stable that I haven't, like, I don't know a ton of the behind the scenes stuff, but like with the Wyatt Six, it's like,
yeah, exactly.
They teased that for months and months and months, and then they came out and it was like, well, this is going to have to be like a huge disruptive stable, and it's like it feels like they have not found their footing at all. I don't even know, do they still exist?
They do on SmackDown, barely. They just won the tag team titles on SmackDown, but they only.
So see, that's what, again. I do want to not lose all credibility here. I have not kept track of this.
Well, I mean, but that, honestly though, that's a testament to. I mean, if you didn't even know they were back, I mean, that's a problem, and not a problem on you. I'm saying a problem within the company as far as like they're not doing a good enough job.
The amount they were teased and all of those crazy, Chad Gable getting murdered,
kill the guy, exactly.
right. It's like you would think that they wouldn't be, kind of sparingly used on TV. You would think that they were going to be a menacing force throughout the broadcast for like, it would be. To me, it was like they were being introduced as like not like the NWO, but like a haunted version of like a like disruptive anti-establishment stable, and then it kind of was like, a little bit.
Yeah, no, they had that amazing like ending to Raw. It wasn't even just like a an angle in the middle of the show, like you said. They practically killed Chad Gable, which they revealed that he was fine and he had like a little bump on his head or whatever.
Yeah,
but, in the moment,
he had a massive wound. He had a headshot. It was like Jesus.
It was insane, and then they just kind of fizzled out. I think a couple members got hurt, but I think there's 6 of them. Obviously, it's the Wyatt Six, so you would think they would continue on in the meantime with some of the people, but they just didn't do that. And they're back now, but like you said, I completely agree. They've completely lost their footing and haven't really found their footing as a group yet. So that's a prime example of that for sure. No, I love that example. Just going back to the chat here as we keep going. If you guys have any questions for myself or Tommy, be sure to let me know. Fernando says hi. He says, I think I recognize you from Screen Junkies. I think you mean Screen Crush. Unless you've done work with Screen Junkies as well, Tommy.
I have not, but I approve of Screen Junkies. So yes, it's Screen Crush, but Fernando, good to see you.
All great content creators nonetheless. You can find Tommy, by the way. I forgot to mention this earlier. We're almost a half hour in here. He's on the Twitter machine at Tommy Bechtold, Instagram as well at Tommy Bechtold. Where else can people find you, Tommy?
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy podcast is my YouTube channel. Those are the main places to find me.
Perfect. And you guys always have great opinions on stuff. Star Wars, Marvel, like we were saying earlier.
We love it.
Let's see. Dax said, we have Dax in the chat. He said he was at the SmackDown where the Jelly Roll Randy Orton crap started. So they dedicated like a 20-minute segment to that on SmackDown a few weeks ago, if you saw it.
I mean, let's hope for the best. I get it. Jelly Roll is massively popular. I do understand that. It's not for me. And like I said, sometimes I feel like when it turns into weeks-long programs with celebrities that you're like, well, he's not going to be a full-time WWE wrestler.
Yeah.
It's kind of, I guess I'll take it for what it is. It's like a celebrity-driven gimmick match, and
I mean, when we first did our interview thing a few years ago, I think we spoke before the match, and then when I spoke to you again, it was after the match. But the Bad Bunny match at WrestleMania that year, I mean, he went out there and killed it. I don't know if Jelly Roll's going to have a Bad Bunny performance, but you never know, right?
You're right. That is a great example of like when a celebrity like kind of goes in and gets. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Pat McAfee is a celebrity that fell into wrestling, and that worked out for him. And again, like it can, especially when they're athletes, it's like it tends to translate a little better because it's a little more believable. I think it's just, Travis Scott was ridiculous in my opinion. Jelly Roll is also that level of ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's
no, completely ridiculous. But listen, if they can make it work, then more power to them.
If it brings new eyeballs to the product, I think that's a great thing.
Exactly.
Far be it from me to have some sort of weird gatekeeping thing
listen,
because I don't like his music.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. And listen, if it gets more eyes on other stuff on this card coming up, if you watch for the Jelly Roll match, but stick around for Jacob Fatu versus Solo Sikoa or something like that, then
I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well inside of a steel cage for the United States Championship. Yes. So it should be great. Fernando did correct himself. He said, "I am sorry. I meant Screen Crush LOL." So that's
no problem, Fernando. I don't take it personally. Both great channels.
Pseudo says, "Hi everyone, Pseudo. What's going on? Thanks for joining." Maria said earlier on, Boston is spoiled. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. Spoiled brats.
Yeah, Nathaniel said the Patriots are winning division this year. I might have to boot him. I don't know. That sounds like a nasty prediction.
Flag it. Flag that prediction.
Alexis said in response to what we were discussing earlier with Marvel, she said, "I just feel like you can't recast an Iron Man or a Captain America until one of them just straight up dies." I think she means in real life. I would imagine, because obviously, spoiler alert, Iron Man died in Endgame. But she said, "I'm sure whoever were to play them would be great, but they were just made for those roles. Like, you could recast Batman or Superman 1,000 times because the role makes the actor, but RDJ and Chris Evans made those roles. Without them, I don't know if they would hold that same weight." Would you agree with that, or having an opposing viewpoint?
I think that's actually a great point, and a great, and it is, I think that is, in terms of how it played out in actual like movie quality, very true. Like we have seen time and time again. I mean, I think Christian Bale played an amazing Batman.
Me too.
I think Michael Keaton played an amazing Batman. But we have multiple iterations of great Batman, and we now have multiple iterations of great Superman. And I do think that those are huge characters that are like iconoclastic. The reality is, Iron Man is not, I mean, he's a huge Marvel character, but he was not like this tremendously popular comic book character.
Sure, yeah.
Captain America was, but like both of those guys, I do think assumed those roles in a way that made them, they are the faces of those characters. But I do think that, like, it's heavily rumored Chris Evans is coming back either as Nomad or Hydra Cap or some other version. And I do think he'll be back in the MCU in some way, but I think the way that they will be introduced is not as characters as big as they were in Phase 1. I think they'll be supporting characters in this new X-Men, Fantastic Four driven MCU that we have over the next few years.
No, I think that's
yeah.
Sorry,
one of the big rumors I think is Kieran Culkin for Tony Stark, which I think is hilarious, and I think he could do a great job with it. But I don't see him carrying a franchise the way Robert Downey Jr. did.
No, he's a talented actor. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if he could.
That would imply a reduction in importance.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that makes sense. I mean, I'm not sure if they're going to wait until they die in real life. I mean, what are they, late 40s? I mean, already.
Well, Robert Downey Jr. does like yoga 7 days a week and doesn't drink or smoke or do drugs. I mean, he did a lot of damage, as he publicly says.
Anymore,
but
yeah.
I could see him living long into life, and Chris Evans is a freaking fitness machine. So, I mean, we're talking 40 years for some of these guys. So.
Yeah, it's going to be a long time.
I won't be around, so I selfishly would like them to recast.
No, I agree. I mean, I think they also said in the Variety article, and correct me if I'm wrong, did he not make a reference, Kevin Feige did, to like 007 as far as like, some of those stories carry over from actor to actor, and some of the same, like we had the same M when it was not Roger Moore, whoever was before Daniel Craig. I forgot.
Pierce Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan. Yeah, so he was the 007 at that point, the same M, and they carried over the same stories when Daniel Craig took over the role. Do you kind of see that same thing happening with Marvel, or is that a totally different, like?
Yeah, film? I think there'll be little like tethers to the. I think there will always be a connection to the MCU that started in 2008. I think that there will be characters that carry over. It'll be kind of a collage. It'll be new actors playing old characters, and then there will be the old actors playing those characters as well. I think the thing that's going to be different is that we're going to see a streamlined timeline. It's not going to be so multiversal. I think that they're kind of fast tracking the end of that.
Yeah. I think that makes sense, especially with, Doomsday, Secret Wars coming up. That would make sense. Maria said RDJ must be doing yoga with DDP.
Yeah, DDP yoga saves lives.
DDP yoga is indeed a lifesaver. Nathaniel asked me earlier, do you think FTR beats Hurt Syndicate for the AEW tag titles? I do. I do think that happens at some point. Tommy, I know not recently, maybe a year or two ago, you were in attendance for an AEW Dynamite show.
Oh, I was at an AEW show for like 7 hours.
Okay, so give me the experience, what your thoughts were on being there in person, and just as far as how much you're kind of keeping up with the product now and just their mere existence kind of helping WWE,
Sure. I am, one, I think that it's great for them to exist in terms of keeping competition is always going to breed a better product. I mean, we see that with the DCU, I think with Superman being such a success, that's great news for the MCU because it's great news for the creatives in the MCU. I don't know if it's great news for Disney bottom line, how they spend their money, but it's like, yeah, hey, we got to be on our A game. Like, look, like Warner Brothers is not messing around anymore. But in terms of AEW, I had a great time at the show. We had Danny Garcia and Danny Garcia.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, Daniel Garcia, but Danny Garcia is
Danny Garcia is the Rock's ex-wife, who's his producer.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Garcia and the Blade of Buffalo wrestling in a Buffalo street fight, which was a highlight for me. I've done a couple comedy shows with the Blade. He's a nice guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I mean, all of the things you want from AEW, as ridiculous as they are, the learning tree was out and about. It was super fun. It was great. It was long because they did Dynamite and then they did a couple of other tapings afterwards.
Yes.
But my overall reaction was like I was very impressed with the crowd. Like they stayed locked in, including my cousin who was there screaming his ass off. I had to take a couple laps around.
Really, yeah.
Kind of like, well, just because sitting for so long.
Yeah.
And I was like, I got to walk around. But I had an amazing time. I think the product is really, really good. It's great. I mean, it definitely, I'm not as familiar with the wrestlers there, as I am with WWE wrestlers. Sure. I had a great resource in my cousin Sean sitting there with me because he could explain everything that was going on. He was very passionate about it. He told me who to boo and who to cheer for. And, I think that was maybe one of the last appearances of, I don't want to say her name wrong, Stephanie Vacker. Is that?
Oh, yes, Stephanie Vaquer, I think is how you pronounce it. Yeah, there's a million different pronunciations.
Because she's in NXT now?
She's on the main roster now.
She's on the main roster now. Yeah, so she wrestled there at that show.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is about a year ago. Okay, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. So that was cool. She was great. And I'm trying to think. Other highlights of that show
over the 8 hours that you were there.
Well, there was. I mean, this was a year ago, but it was just fun. I think I want to say it was. Daniel Garcia had a confrontation with. I think it was Will Ospreay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this would have been like June 2024, probably.
Yes.
Okay.
And then my favorite guy, who's the rich asshole guy.
MJF.
Yes.
Well, he's
MJF.
a New Yorker too. He's a Long Islander, actually.
Yes, I love that guy. He came out and did like put over Daniel Garcia because Daniel Garcia is from Buffalo. So
yes.
It was a homecoming for him. And he came over and put him over and they had I respect you, but someday we're gonna fight. Handshake moment. That was great. So it was a great experience. It was on par. I mean, listen, going to WrestleMania is always gonna be a highlight for me.
Sure.
Going to Royal Rumble was huge for me. But in terms of wrestling shows, I've been to a lot of SmackDowns. I've been to several Raws. I've been to a lot of house shows. This was on par with all of those. I think it was a great product that night. And, I think it's AEW from what I've tracked, as a very casual fan of it. I know they have their ups and downs and they do some frustrating things. And I think they suffer from not being as big as the WWE.
Sure.
WWE is always going to be the gold standard that ultimately, no matter how many times people say they're happy where they are, to get the opportunity to be a main eventer in WWE is obviously probably the goal of every wrestler.
Yeah.
If they're being honest, or most wrestlers. So, but I think having another organization to push the WWE to stay on top of things creatively has made WWE really strong over the last 2.5 years, like you said, and forever, and longer than that for AEW's existence. But I think it has created a good product in both
companies. Yeah, no, for sure. No, it motivates them, creatively to do better and put forth stronger effort to get talent too, because everyone wants the top talent on whatever company that they're running. So, I mean, it makes the most sense. You talk about being at both shows. I know you soon after that you were at the or actually no, you would have been to the Rumble before that, right? Last year in Tampa.
The Royal Rumble before that. Yep.
Yeah, so the roles were kind of reversed because you said you were at Dynamite with your cousin, right?
Yes.
So at the Rumble you were there with your nephews.
Yeah, no, I was there with my younger cousin. Yes.
Younger cousin, okay.
Yeah.
So were you kind of having to like teach him who to cheer and who to boo and stuff like that?
Oh, there was no teaching him. He had already made his mind up. But yeah, my cousin Allison and her husband Tom and my cousin Eli went, and they're all three of them are regular watchers.
Cool.
So like they had already formulated opinions on what they wanted to see. It was so much fun though. I mean, just the respect I have for just the entity that is a Royal Rumble, like how long it takes to get everything up and moving, how impressive it is when the ring is full of superstars. It was such a cool thing to see live.
Yeah, no, and it was ended up being a good show. That was where Cody Rhodes won the Rumble for the second time to punch the ticket to WrestleMania to face Roman Reigns again. So yeah, no, it was a fun show, and just the atmosphere of both environments are so drastically different as far as the demographics. I mean, WWE they both try to appeal to everyone. But WWE, you can kind of see more of like I don't know if it's a Disney demographic with younger people and stuff like that. And AEW is like the hardcore, like outrage type of people. You know what I mean?
It's like when you were a kid and your parents would let you watch VH1, but they wouldn't let you watch MTV. It's like,
there you go.
VH1's a little softer, a little more family friendly. MTV is, a little more hardcore, like you said.
No, great comparison. I know when we spoke the first time, I think, when I asked you your all-time favorite or among your all-time favorites, you said Chris Jericho is up there. Is he still up there now? And your thoughts in the learning tree stuff. And I just come from someone where, like, Chris Jericho is still one of my favorites. He's actually going to be at Rhode Island Comic-Con in a couple months, I saw, which is awesome.
No way.
He's doing a signing there. But, like, I wasn't, in the last couple of years, I just haven't been overly enamored with what he's been doing in AEW, at least recently. Some of the early stuff was cool, the learning tree stuff, and probably what he was doing when you were there, not a big fan of personally. But
it's so weird. It is so deeply weird to me. I don't know. He's like one of those. He's like a long-standing solo musician that's just like has had so many hits and so many great moments, and it's like they're just going to keep putting out records, and you got to find the beauty in it if you love them. Like, it's like, I just, as recently as his last run with the WWE, all the way back to like WCW, Nitro, there was always something about him. He's just a bastard.
Yeah, he plays a great heel.
He's just such a great heel. And I always was drawn to the heels as a kid. I was like the bad guys. I loved the NWO when I was a kid. Oh my God. And then they made it accessible for children by creating the NWO Wolfpack, which is like, what if the NWO was kind of good? Yeah. And Jericho's still up there for me. I will say, like, over the years, my like appreciation for Roman Reigns has grown a lot more.
Acknowledge him, yeah.
Yeah, I do acknowledge him fully now. And I will say, just in general, that family, like the Usos, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, like I think that's just, it's a dynasty. It's a dynastic family. So they're definitely all still up there for me as well.
And they just keep reproducing. There's just Samoan after Samoan. There's just
more.
Stop.
It's because they're all eating at the all-you-can-eat gogi Korean barbecue place I used to see them at in Sherman Oaks, California. I used to see Rikishi there all the time, and the only way you could tell it was Rikishi is because he looks like Rikishi.
Yeah, for sure.
But he was always wore velvet velour tracksuits, and he had his hair dyed yellow or blonde.
He still does, I think, too.
There's a giant blonde man in a tracksuit that looks like Rikishi. I'm guessing that's him. And then there would always just be a bunch of like Uso-looking children around.
Uso-looking children, yeah.
Yes.
Definitely the best way to put it. No, that makes sense. Yeah, no, Roman Reigns is great. Chris Jericho, still a fan of overall, but it feels like, I don't know if they have just too much creative freedom going on in AEW, or sometimes you just need a break to kind of refresh yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I hope we get one more like dialed in Chris Jericho run. Like,
do you think it happens there or in WWE?
I hope WWE. I hope he comes back for one last time, because I think like the learning tree stuff is just like a little too flippant.
Yeah,
it's like it's a little too like not like wink wink nudge nudge. Like, look at how like I'm a guru. I like sit under my learning tree.
It only goes so far. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the fact that it's lasted as long as it did is a strange testament to his creative power. But yeah.
Yeah, to say the least. No, for sure. No, I could certainly see that as well. Let me see, backtrack here in the comments real quick. Alexis said, talking about Marvel, I think they made everything so convoluted after Endgame, LOL. And she also said, Tommy, have you seen any of the newer Marvel shows? I'm assuming you watched Ironheart. I really enjoyed it. Graham pushed me to watch it, LOL. For the record, I did push her to watch it, but she also ended up enjoying it as I did. So she wanted to hear your thoughts on Ironheart.
Sure. Ironheart, I put in top I put it in top 3 of Marvel TV shows, actually. Wow. I loved it. I thought it was, I'll just give the cliff notes of why. One, I think the way they was marketed was a tragedy. I know that that Feige has now come forward and said that they painfully released it the way they did because they're committed to putting out less frequency between more infrequency between their shows. So they delayed it. I mean, to play a character like Dominique Thorne played Riri Williams is so difficult because she does the wrong thing constantly. And she's the protagonist and she screws up so much, and that could be annoying in the wrong hands because you want to pull your hair out and be like, no, don't do that. Sure. And I feel like she created now for whatever the future of that character and that storyline with Mephisto goes. And I believe it will have legs because it was received really well after the fact. It's one of the few shows that broke through the trolldom of Twitter, and people were just like, no, this is good. Shut up. You know, like a lot of things can get pulled down by that, even if people disagree, because they just don't, it's exhausting to fight through trolls. But I think this show has done that and will continue to do it. And I think it's because it's on the shoulders of her performance as Riri Williams. Like, she is not a hero to aspire to, really, at this point. At the end of the show, spoiler alert, she makes a deal with the devil, and it's like, she doesn't kill a guy, but she does the Batman "I don't have to let you live" either move, and she constantly makes decisions that put other people in jeopardy. And because we know she is motivated by the opposite, we forgive her and we still root for her, and I think that complexity of that character is a testament to her abilities as an actress. And I also think that she's another person like Chris Evans and like, several other people that have killed, like, Ryan Reynolds certainly as Deadpool, that loves the source material so much that she's able to create this character in her own original voice that also is so satisfying as a comic book fan. So
yeah, she did it.
I'm all in on Ironheart.
Yeah, no, I am too. I wasn't really sold on the show. Not that I thought it would be bad, but I wasn't really, because there's a lot of shows they've done that are either solid and they really haven't followed up on at all in a few years. Like, I know there's talk now.
Moon Knight, great example. Moon Knight was rock solid, but where is he?
I was just about to say, like, I'm seeing these rumors, he could be back in this. I mean, these are, at the end of the day, these are all just rumors. Like, we just don't know, And even if he does come back, it could be in 2 or 3 years. By that point, the show would have been out 7 years earlier or whatever.
Right, exactly, right.
Which is ridiculous. So, I don't know. I enjoyed the show. Hopefully, it's not too long before they follow up on that. Maria said Mutant Saga after Secret Wars. I mean, you kind of alluded to that earlier, right?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll label it the Mutant Saga or no?
Or the X-Men Saga or something like that. I think that is going to be very much the focus of the MCU after Secret Wars.
Yeah, no, I think so as well. Nathaniel saying Forbidden Door. I think FTR beats the Hurt Syndicate. I would think so as well. I think we get new tag team champions. Alexis said non-Marvel related, but she said we also watched, her and I did, she's talking about season 3 of Squid Game 2. I don't know if you're a Squid Game fan, but it did not live up to expectations. Did you catch it?
I have heard that. I've only seen season 1 of Squid Game. It's on my list. It's on my binge list. I'm going through the studio right now, but Squid Game's up there. I'll see that soon.
Oh, the studio's great. Studio's an excellent show.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm halfway through right now, but very fun. It's like the Entourage. It's like a more believable Entourage, I will say, having worked in the entertainment industry. It's like, it's still obviously hyper exaggerated, but it's like there's a lot more failing and flailing than an Entourage where Vinny Chase landed on his feet no matter what. It's like these people flounder around, and that's the majority. Most shoots have people knocking over lights, parking in the wrong place, screwing things up. Directors going ballistic, like not necessarily like to like a nuclear level, but it's like that's the type of stuff that really happens. It's like you set up a shot for 2 hours, you go to roll, and something breaks immediately. It's like that frustration is. I think it combines Entourage with Curb Your Enthusiasm in a great way. It's like kind of a perfect baby of those two things. Like Seth Rogen's character just kind of always winds up in a deeply uncomfortable situation the way Larry David always did, but it's surrounded by the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. So I very much enjoy it.
It was a really entertaining show, and I think it was already renewed for a second season. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, what camp do you fall in? I guess it's kind of the former camp, but the camp of like you enjoy it being in the industry, knowing like I can relate to this, or the camp of like I almost have PTSD having to live through this again, but not living through it, just kind of experiencing it through a different lens.
Yeah, I love. I'm one of the rare people that does love movies and TV about Hollywood. I think most, in general, mainstream audiences kind of reject those movies usually in TV. Entourage being an exception, but like it definitely is. It's a show that I have been more uncomfortable watching than I think I would normally be if I hadn't had like related to a lot of those experiences.
Sure.
But I think that has enhanced the enjoyability for me because I'm like, oh man, it makes me remember something from like 15 years ago. I remember, oh man, that reminds me of that. So it's been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed it.
That's cool. No, it's a great show. I would definitely recommend people check it out as well. Fernando said, Tommy, what are your thoughts on the castings for the X-Men characters so far? Well, I mean, they've only announced the castings of the original X-Men. They haven't announced like who the new X-Men are going to be.
Yeah, right? No, I don't think there's any new X-Men castings. There's just, there's always the rumors. And I think like, again, the way what we were talking about before, I think a blending of old and new will be great for that. Like, if Hugh Jackman wants to play Wolverine a few more times, that's okay. I think eventually they need to recast Wolverine because, I mean, just the reality is like, we've already seen Old Man Logan in the movie, Logan. And like, I think, give Hugh Jackman a few more swings at it and then recast. And then I think, as much as I'd love to see McAvoy and Fassbender back as Magneto and Charles Xavier, I think that part of a reset would be just casting a new kind of
starting fresh.
Yeah. Starting fresh with those two. And then, I think the rest of the castings will fall into place.
Yeah, no, I agree. Nathaniel said, I hope we see Tobey Maguire Spider-Man team up with Hugh Jackman and Avengers. I don't know if that's possible. I mean, hey, listen, I guess anything's possible, right?
Yeah, I guess it will just depend on like what Marvel negotiates with Sony in terms of Spider-Man usage. Because right now Sony's been pretty precious about, you can use Spider-Man in MCU movies, but you can't use any of these other things, like
Kingpin or whatever.
Or even like Venom had the teaser scene at the end of Venom 2 that they kind of just retconned. Like they didn't even go through with it even.
Yeah.
So, it's been weird. It's like, it seems like characters can come into the Sony movies, but they can't. Only Spider-Man can come out of that into an MCU movie. So.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see.
No, I'm interested to see it as well. Last DC question here before I ask you about SummerSlam in a second. But Fernando asked, Tommy, do you think Patterson will eventually join the Gunverse as Batman? Talking about Robert Pattinson, obviously.
Yeah. It's so weird because it seems like he's being adamant that they're separate things, that, Matt Reeves' Batman is in the Elseworlds folder of DCU projects.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think it would be a bad thing. I like what Robert Pattinson does with that Batman character. I do think that they are setting up two different tonal worlds.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The Batman world is like a gritty, dark, hyper-violent, kind of not realistic, but slightly more grounded. And Superman was just this fun, colorful exploration of superheroes and metahumans. So right now the puzzle pieces don't seem to fit for me.
No, maybe a little bit later down the road, but probably not right now. But I could see it, though, because that most recent Batman movie, I say recent, but it was 3.5 years ago at this point. But that was a great movie. Yeah. It was an excellent movie.
It was a great movie. And hopefully we're getting production on the second one soon.
Yeah, I heard about the script stuff. The script was submitted or whatever, so hopefully it's imminent. As we wind down here, I know we spoke a lot about Marvel and DC and stuff like that because I just have so many questions for you, but talking about SummerSlam coming up next weekend, as far as like the idea of it being 2 nights, Tommy, is that something that excites you? Is that something, because this is the first time for SummerSlam. We've seen it with WrestleMania in the past.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea. I think the 2 nights thing it's a big ask of your average wrestling viewer, but ultimately with streaming and the way, getting it on the Peacock network, it's like, I probably won't be able to watch both nights live, but I'll, by the end of the weekend, I'll have watched both, and I don't mind. I think pack it in. We have such a surplus of talent right now. You kind of have to make these events larger than life because there's so many deserving wrestlers that deserve to have a moment on a premium live event.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it helps create more opportunities and more spots for certain matches and storylines and allow them to kind of, expose more storylines. And we mentioned earlier, Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, Steel Cage for the United States Championship.
Very excited about that. I love Jacob Fatu. I think is currently my favorite wrestler.
Really?
Like,
Wow.
I just love him. He's just so he's just such a terrifying man. The Samoan werewolf. I love it. I mean, I think, I say that he's my favorite. I say that in terms of like he's like my flavor of the month wrestler.
Okay. Well, he's still great regardless. Yeah.
I'm currently enjoying him. He's very young. He's got a long ways to go in his career, but I think that what they did with that character, like, having him get fed up with Solo Sikoa was pretty great. It was pretty genius. Because for a long time, this first schism happened with Solo and Roman, and it was like, how are they going to break up, the first family or whatever? And it's like, well, okay, so you have eventually jealousy over Roman Reigns. That makes sense. And it's like, well, now how are they going to break up this?
Yeah.
How are they going to, I thought it was perfect. You just make Jacob Fatu kind of undeniable and Solo Sikoa wanting to suppress him in the group. And I think that worked out perfectly, and I'm excited for that match.
It's been a seamless storyline as far as their involvement with the bloodline and then taking Roman out of the equation, now kind of focusing on Solo and Jacob, and it's allowed, like you said, Jacob to really break out on his own as the United States champion. Probably, do you think he gets the belt back at SummerSlam instead of the cage?
I'm hoping so. I think that you put it in a cage match because you know that there's going to be some nasty happenings. So yeah, I hope so. I think it makes sense for him to reemerge as champion. So I'm rooting for that belt change. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Two of the matches coming up next weekend. We have Becky Lynch, who returned the night after WrestleMania, won the Women's Intercontinental Championship soon after from newcomer Lyra Valkyria, who was great. They're having their big blow-off match at this show. It's a no DQ, no count-out match for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. And, of course, I mentioned this earlier as well, the main event for night 2, Cody Rhodes and John Cena for the undisputed WWE Championship, WrestleMania rematch, another street fight as well. So Nathaniel asked, I'm not 100% sure, but I think Lyra wins or Cody Rhodes wins. What about you, Tommy? Who do you think goes over in those matches?
I want Cody to win. It's just because I think it's interesting. I don't really know for that one. I'm hoping Cody wins. I'm never rooting against Becky Lynch. I'm sorry. I like Lyra Valkyria. I'm not rooting against her. I know I should. I know she's been very not nice, but I mean, I could see them taking the belt off of Becky Lynch. I hope that it's the inverse. I hope it's Cody Rhodes wins, Becky Lynch retains.
Okay.
That's my hope. But I'm often wrong.
So maybe it ends up being the opposite of what you're looking for.
Yeah. Very possible. I mean, John Cena, who knows? I mean, we're in uncharted territories. We're winding down our John Cena time, and who knows when is his official end date? Has he announced that?
They haven't announced officially, but it's the end of the year, so sometime in December.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to think, like, event-wise, what they could do with him. But
yeah,
this stands to reason. This would be like kind of his last huge event, right?
Yeah.
There's like SummerSlam. There's not.
Aside from like Survivor Series, but this is bigger than that,
Right. In terms of like the big, like, almost, what do they call them?
The Big Four or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, no, definitely the biggest show he's going to have for the rest of the year as far as that's concerned, and the attendance and stuff like that. What has been your take on the John Cena heel run in 2025?
I haven't loved it.
You're not in the minority, by the way. It's okay.
Yeah, I get it. I think him turning heel was a very interesting decision.
I agree.
I think what he has done as that heel character has not worked for me a lot of the time. Like, it's just kind of like, it's so over the top, and like, so like, it kind of harkens back to heel turns in the 90s, where it would be like, beloved babyface, devastating betrayal. And then they just become like a Batman villain. Like, they're just no longer, like, they're like, yes, this whole time I was secretly a real piece of crap. And like,
yeah, and it doesn't make sense. Yeah.
No, it just doesn't make sense. And it feels kind of like, not patronizing, but like a little winky to the crowd. Like, look, I'm bad now. I'm bad. Like, I think more like, if they had really leaned into him selling his soul to get like one last chance for the title and him being really tortured by it, that would have been a lot more fun. But like, to me, what would have made him a great heel is if he continued to do heel things while having a mental struggle with, like, I know I shouldn't kick Cody Rhodes in the balls, but I have to do it, and then do it. But instead, he's just kind of been like, I'm going to try to be a sneering, crap talking heel. But the thing is, as a babyface, he was a great crap talker.
Yeah.
That was his thing. He was like, basically did like roast battles with people, and like, So it's like it doesn't really work in heel form just because like you look a little angrier for me.
No.
But I love John Cena. I love having him on TV. Even if it's not my favorite flavor of John Cena, I will always enjoy the Cena.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, just the idea that he's acting as if, I've been a bad guy for the last 20 years, especially inevitably when he goes back to being a babyface, goes back to being a good guy. What's the justification there? Like, I'm not bad anymore, like I was bad. It just doesn't make sense. People are going to cheer him. Like, people will obviously cheer him. That won't be a problem.
Yeah, and that's probably happening pretty soon, right?
Yeah, like it's already happening now a little bit, yeah.
Right. Like, it would make sense if he loses to Cody Rhodes tonight and then saves Cody Rhodes in the next week or so or something, like in a run-in. Or if they just flip it and Cody turns heel.
Do you think that happens? People have pitched that.
I think, he talked about it, right?
He's talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that happens yet because that might be a little too abrupt, but could happen.
Yeah, no, it's definitely possible. Millennial Lee, what's going on? Thanks for joining as we wind down here. You talked about the selling your soul thing. The Rock was a factor in John Cena's heel turn, and we haven't seen him since.
No, The Rock is a enigmatic presence in multiple franchises.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
He was a very enigmatic member of the DCEU. Now seemingly catching a few strays in interviews, kind of not mentioned by name, but mentioned by actions by James Gunn. It feels like The Rock is in reality so overstretched. The limitations of what The Rock can do. Mm-hmm. And I can, it's a relatable thing if you ever overcommit to a bunch of things, but I feel like The Rock has overcommitted to being a celebrity for the last 10 years and is now facing the ramifications of hey, you can't go in and demand to be a central part of a wrestling storyline and then never come back again. You need to then show up at least once a month on TV to push the storyline through. Because otherwise, it's just, what do we have? We have The Rock handing Cody Rhodes the thing and being like, The Rock has to go away now.
Yeah. And then disappearing for 6 months.
Disappearing, coming back to kick him in the ball, or have John Cena kick him in the balls, then disappearing again. It's if he's the final boss, he has to show up and be the boss once in a while. I think it's in the same way that he wanted Black Adam to become basically the face of the DCEU. It's well, that's not going to happen. And then he's just kind of all right, well, forget it. I feel like maybe his return didn't bear the fruit that he wanted. And he's just all right, fine, I'll go back to being executive Rock. But where is he?
He just disappeared, and he even said going into WrestleMania, because it would make sense if he helped John Cena win the title at WrestleMania. He did it, and then he said in a kind of a damage control interview with Pat McAfee the following week, he goes, I was available, but I just didn't think it would make sense for me to get involved and overshadow the main event. It's bitch, you overshadowed the main event when you got involved in the first place. You know what I mean?
Also, you sent Travis Scott out. We had to believe that Travis Scott was having big influence in this match. Come on.
It just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, I'm not a fan of it personally. And I don't know. It's weird. First of all, X is just a dumpster fire. But, I love Superman. But I see so many, not now, but really when the movie came out a couple weeks ago, a lot of anti-Superman tweets, about, the movie was trash, James Gunn's going to ruin the DC, whatever. The Rock had a point. I'm have we really reached the point where people are saying the Rock was right with what he did, and then they retconned it? I mean, come on.
Yes, of course. Yes. Well, I think the desperation to trash Superman because it's not made by Zack Snyder, who himself has asked people not to do that. Mm-hmm. If the person that you're trying to impress or pay tribute to is I don't want you to do this, maybe rethink your priorities. But yeah, I think The Rock was right is a very dangerous precedent to set for the DC cinematic universe. So.
I completely agree. Last question for you, Tommy. Talking about James Gunn, talking about WWE, this was, I was thinking about this when Superman came out, but it also can kind of relate to WWE. So I'll give you a question here. What do you think happens first? WWE working with AEW in some form or fashion and forming some sort of it's almost as if WWE worked with WCW before they bought them. That's kind of the equivalent by modern day terms. Or DC working with Marvel to do some sort of superhero team up. And I only say that because James Gunn previously worked with Marvel, is obviously on decent enough terms with them, where if they were desperate enough, maybe that's something that could happen. So what of those two things could you see happening first?
Well, I think they would signal two different things.
Okay.
The DCU and Marvel collaborating. They've collaborated on comic books in the past.
Of course,
And I think that you could see a studio collaboration. I wonder what that would look like, but to me, that would almost just be a like, hey, we think this would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
An AEW WWE collaboration to me would imply that the AEW is in big trouble and like on the verge of folding. And they're
Good
like,
point.
all right, because that's kind of like what happened to WCW, right?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, it merged at the very end because WWE bought it.
Exactly.
Right? So I just don't know. I mean, it would be fun to have them do. Obviously, I'd love to see some of the wrestlers from AEW wrestle some of the wrestlers from WWE, but it feels like more realistically that'll just happen when they jump ship either way.
Yeah.
I feel like an MCU, DCU project could happen, and it would probably need to be something really fun. Like it would have to be like Deadpool, and and like some crazy DC character, like Deadpool versus the Joker or something crazy like that. Or, because I think just a flat out DC versus DC versus Marvel movie, like there has to be a reason for it.
For sure.
But Deadpool could just go over and wreak havoc on the DCU.
Yeah.
Which would be very fun. But both things I'd like to see.
Yeah, no, I feel like both would make for some great cinematic possibilities. I mean, it would obviously make a lot of money. I don't know if it's worth the box office creatively, like if it ends up just kind of watering down both universes as far as the Marvel DC stuff is concerned. But I don't think we're looking at that anytime soon, if ever.
No, yeah. I think like I said, I think it would be more of a standalone project too. Like
Interesting.
It would be I think because you probably don't have the merged universes for like a franchise. Maybe you make a sequel, but I think it would probably be a standalone story and just kind of an event. Like go see these characters on the same screen, for the first time and maybe last. So that's how I would market it.
Yeah, and they make their money, and I don't know how they would split it profit-wise between the two. I mean, it really comes down to the companies too. I mean, would Disney really want to be working with Warner? Probably not.
Right. Well, they've done it in the past with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Oh, really? Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
That's let me tell you there was a time where Mickey Mouse and Bugs Bunny were feuding pretty hard. And they got together with a silly rabbit.
Yep.
So
to take down Christopher Lloyd of all people.
That's right. To take down Doc Brown.
What a
Whose
movie.
name was Doom? Wasn't his name Doom?
Oh, yeah.
Judge Doom?
I was going to say Dr. Doom, obviously not. Yeah, Judge Doom. I think you're right.
Yeah.
It all goes full circle. That's amazing.
That
would be pretty incredible.
Come on, look at it.
I think you just
let
booked
us
it.
cook. Let us cook.
Let us cook. Well, Tommy, this has been a blast. I could speak to you for hours, but I appreciate you allowing an hour of your time here on WrestleRant Radio, being back for the first time in 3 years. Hopefully it's not another 3 years before we can have you back talking wrestling, Marvel, and DC. This has been amazing. My pleasure, Graham. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. And like I said earlier, you can find Tommy on Screen Crush. He's on the Twitter machine, on Instagram, at Tommy Bechtold. Guardians of the Galaxy. Check out their awesome podcast with MT and Whitney and everything. The rest of the gang, they do great work. Stand-up comedian as well in the New York area. Buffalo Bills fanatic. So find his quips on sports and everything else on social media. And I think I hit upon everything. Did I? I think you got it. I think you did a better job promoting me than I've ever done. So I'll take it. I appreciate it, Tommy. Let me know the next time you're at a wrestling show here in the Northeast or wherever. We'll definitely have our paths cross in the future. You got it. I'm hungry for pancakes already, Greg. I'm looking forward to Dubars, right? Dubars? Yes. Dubars. I look forward to the next one. Dupars. Why do I keep saying Dunbar, Dubar? I'm going to get you a shirt so that way you can remember. Still the best pancakes I've ever had in my life. So, fantastic. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. We appreciate it. New episodes of the show every single Thursday, WrestleRant.com, WrestleRantRadio.com, live every single Thursday right here on the WrestleRant YouTube channel. Next Thursday, Mr. Marceau returns. More formal breakdown of SummerSlam predictions and preview for the pay-per-view. So stay tuned for that. Until next time, folks, enjoy the rest of your week. Happy National Refreshment Day one more time. I'm Graham GSM Matthews for Tommy Bechtold. Have an awesome one, folks. We'll catch your ass down the road.
Join Graham GSM Matthews and RJ Marceau every Thursday as they run down their weekly wrestling rants, offer expert analysis, host exclusive interviews, and more. Subscribe today on all your favorite podcast platforms and never miss an episode of WrestleRant Radio.